Welcome back to Arise Exchange. McDonald's new CEO is on a Big Mac attack, taking aim at the company's culture, finances, and even its iconic food. Its new CEO announcing how the company, which has been struggling in recent years, will turn around its business. McDonald's will start by reorganizing international operations, increase the number of franchises to over 90%, cut spending, and improve the quality of its food. Joining us now by phone from Santa Barbara is Tom Perko, president of BevMark, a food and beverage consulting firm. Tom, welcome back to Arise Exchange. Good to have you on, as always.
Another turnaround plan, once again.
Once again. Well, let me ask you something.
This reminds me of the that phrase at Wendy's, where's the beef?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you about this in a moment, Tom, but shouldn't their turnaround plan focus on improving the food?
Well, there's a fundamental problem here, and it comes right down to the business model. This is a quick-service restaurant, meaning that it is cheap and it's fast. You start improving the food, the first thing that happens is your costs begin to zoom, your business becomes much more complicated, and people are standing in line or waiting for who knows how long in a drive-through window. So how do they do that? It's, again, you have to change almost your entire business model to compete with all the new fast casual dining operations that are stealing their business.
Yeah, and certainly in areas of the Northeast, for example, it's getting squeezed by sort of high-end burger places, Shake Shack, for example. So if it can't dramatically improve its food for the reasons you said, can it change its business model to work?
I think that's going to be really hard, and I think it's going to take a long time. We're not dealing with food here. We're dealing with very deep-set images of a business that really is of another time. I mean, people went to McDonald's and still go, but teens and adolescents and young adults are beginning to think about other things. They're not going there for the same reasons. There's very little excitement. We had to smile this morning when we heard them saying that they're now the Progressive Burger Company, and we wondered, where the hell then do all the conservative Republicans go? They're probably
I don't think they're using progressive in that phrase, Tom.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but again, you can stretch out all kinds of concepts and brands and change locations, but that doesn't mean you're different. And they have to enter into something and seize upon the trends that are taking everyone somewhere else. I mean, this is still a business that's purveying sugar, fat, and salt in a very simplistic way at a very cheap price, and that's just not where people are right now.
Are people embarrassed to go to McDonald's? I mean, when I kind of go in there, I kind of try to get my food and go quickly. I don't want to be seen because it just feels like something so unhealthy to do, even though I am willing to have plenty of other unhealthy food.
Yeah, you were the guy with the paper bag over his head when I last drove by. Yeah. To be honest with
you,
how
I anchor the show.
It's not that. It's that people they're not even jaded anymore. They're bored. They go there, and it just doesn't have the kind of value where at one time there was a little bit of excitement to it. Now you can only stuff so many burgers and fries into people's faces. There's more to this business as their competitors are showing.
And I also want
to. They're getting better value. Cheap and fast is something that McDonald's can't seem to adapt to.
Tom, I want to ask you one final question. They want to increase the percentage that are owned by franchisees to over 90%. Is this saying we don't want to be in the operations business anymore? We want to be a marketing company?
It's economics. You kind of lay it off on them, but you're still basically in charge. And I apologize for the paper bag over your head. That was cruel. I'm sorry.
That's okay. A lot of people have said worse about me even today. Tom Perko, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, time now for our business ticker stories making headlines across the nation and the world. It's deal or no deal for Greece, and officials say they are close to an agreement. Greece must pay almost 1 billion euros to the IMF by May 12th and says it plans to make that payment. Eurozone leaders are demanding Greece implement further reform measures, including labor deals and pension cuts, before Greece gets a promised 7 billion euros in additional bailout money. President Obama came to New York City today to announce a new initiative that offers opportunities to young minority men. The president is spinning off a new version of the My Brother's Keeper program. John Legend, Shaquille O'Neal, and Colin Powell are among the celebrities in the group that is aiming to eliminate inequality for young black and Hispanic men. Russian President Vladimir Putin is going into competition with the International Monetary Fund. Russia has created a new development bank to serve the BRICS countries. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The Russian president has set up a $100 billion reserve, which will finance development projects in those emerging economies. and free tuition for 120,000 workers. That's what Fiat Chrysler is offering. Just like Starbucks, the company is using the initiative to attract and retain talent. The company is struggling with up to 60% annual employee turnover. Students can take courses online or on campus to work around office hours, and they won't have to spend the money from their own pocket. Made in the USA. It's hot again. The number of jobs that are coming back to the U.S. or starting here for the first time are at record highs. 60,000 manufacturing jobs were added to the U.S. in 2014 compared to 12,000 about 11 years ago. Harry Moser, Reshoring Initiative president, joins us now to tell us more about the trend in the increase in manufacturing jobs in the U.S. Harry, welcome back to Arise Exchange. Good to talk to you again.
It's great to be here.
What is driving the return of jobs back to the U.S.? Just last week, GM announced that it will invest nearly $5.5 billion in plants right here in the U.S.
You know, the auto industry is certainly important because both GM is investing, Ford is investing, I suspect Chrysler is too, but also the German and the Japanese and the Korean companies are investing, foreign direct investments, so investments here by foreign companies. So the automotive industry leads both the reshoring list and the foreign direct investment list by a big margin.
When NAFTA was passed, everyone said all the jobs would go to Mexico and elsewhere, and the trend was in that direction for a while. Is this now an example that NAFTA is actually working?
I'd say no, because there's roughly as much investment going into Mexico as there is going into the United States, and in a much smaller country, because Mexico still has the labor cost advantage and it has better trade connections to a lot of countries and can export without tariffs, whereas we'd have to pay tariffs to get our cars in. So I do not think it's proof of the effectiveness of NAFTA.
Okay, so what is driving this back to the U.S., and are there specific areas of the country that are benefiting more than others?
Yeah, certainly the largest sort of macro factor is that the wages in China have been going up at about 15% per year expressed in dollars for the last 15 years. So the cost gap, the labor cost gap between the U.S. and China has closed dramatically, to the point where the companies now can say, now it makes sense to calculate the duty and the freight and the carrying cost of inventory and the intellectual property risk, all these other factors, and now that labor cost gap is small enough that those other factors in many cases add up to a bigger number, and therefore it makes sense to come back.
And also, is there anything to be said that these other countries where these jobs went, they have increased their regulations, meaning the regulatory burden is getting heavier there. So if you're going to deal with regulations, you might as well deal with them here?
Our regulations instead of their regulations. Huh? So yes, it's true that theirs are growing, but they're coming up from a low base, and like I've heard that China has as tough regulations as we do, but they just don't enforce them. Mm-hmm. Whereas here we have tough regulations and we absolutely enforce them. So it's clear that the regulatory burden is smaller in most of those other countries, but growing.
We have a chart here of companies that are leaders in creating jobs here in the United States. Anything that sticks out about these jobs? Walmart adding over 2,500 jobs. GM, we just talked about 1,800 jobs. Apple returning more jobs back to the United States.
To me, Walmart sticks out because they've committed over a 10-year period ended with 2022 to bring back $250 billion with a B dollars worth of U.S. product. And that, from our calculation, that represents something like 300,000 manufacturing jobs.
In the U.S., there are a lot of plants and factories that were shut down over the last few decades. Are you seeing the infrastructure of these plants being rebuilt, or are there brand new projects?
Both are happening. I've read a series of articles saying that the vacancy rates in industrial properties are at the lowest level in the last 15 or 20 years. So, and as a result, additional properties are being produced. So people are fixing up the old ones and occupying them and building new properties.
Harry, of course, a lot of jobs left over the last few decades. So how do we make sure that trend doesn't reverse itself again and the jobs now go overseas?
I'd say the key, first key is skilled workforce. We have to train relatively more tool makers and precision machinists, even if we don't have quite as many TV and radio announcers.
That's good for me.
Because our skilled workforce doesn't have the quantity, the quality, the training that, say, the Germans have. And that's the key difference between the success of their economy and the relative failure of ours.
It's also the education system. We pushed people away from vocation schools.
Exactly. I call it professional school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Much easier to attract them.
Harry Moser, Reshoring Initiative President. Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you, Andrew. Bye-bye.
Coming up, Airbnb guests from hell are our favorite people of the day. You're watching Arise Exchange.